when that elite takes hold and claims to speak for everybody, what does that do for the lives of those people who don't feel like they're being spoken for and who aren't getting the benefits of that consultation process?
Yeah, that's the disillusionment that occurs, because it's perpetuating a narrative that you're predetermined for failure based upon your race. And that's the worst thing you can do to our young people, is deprive them of aspiration by saying that you cannot achieve on merit, that we need this special institution, the special representation, this idea that you're kind of going to be not given a hand up, but a continuous handout, and that those that claim to represent these most at need, they have the perfect opportunity to deny any culpability for failing to deliver, because they blame things like systemic racism and colonisation for their failure to deliver. So we just end up with a downward spiral of welfare dependency, of no tangible benefit. And I think that, similar to Australia, Māori are very family focused, those solutions need to come from the individuals at an individual level, not well-intentioned narrative claiming to speak for us that deliver no tangible outcomes.
Can you give us, Casey, some examples of how this has played out?
Well, one of the most stark examples, I think, most recently is we have Ministry for Children, which is Oranga Tamariki. And several years back, they decided that they would, the better outcomes will be delivered by determining that at-risk children need to be placed with iwi and whānau and hapu, the family unit for Māori. And the latest report in February, which was reporting on the performance of Oranga Tamariki, said that they had failed in every area to actually deliver better outcomes for children, to the extent we had a recent case where a young child from the age of 4 had been in care from a non-Māori family till the age of 7 and was thriving. They ended up having to go to the High Court to protect the child from having to be returned to an environment that they couldn't confirm was safe. And Oranga Tamariki were trying to push for that. Now, statistically, this is showing that this idea of race-based division is failing, and it's failing our most vulnerable, our children. The same has occurred with our prison population, which was one of the big issues that we had to address, and this idea that these initiatives would change, and it's achieved nothing. Māori male prison population is still 50% Māori and 65% for women. Now, this we've had years of these initiatives.
Casey, can I ask you this? Has it impacted the work of the courts? Has the presence of treaty and these measures affected the activism that you've seen from the bench?
Yeah, and that was one of the ones that was highlighted recently, where the Supreme Court took into account tikanga Māori, which is the idea of our traditions and our protocols, was introduced into the court system to determine an outcome in a court case. Now, that's like taking things that are so intangible into the court system. We've introduced the idea of having cultural impact in sentencing. If an offender is determined to have been, affected by colonisation, that impacts their sentence. Now, these are stuff that are, as a victim of crime, how do you combat these things? How do you, law should be the law for all, it's the same, no differentiation. And how do you combat that?
That's a good message, isn't it?
I believe it.
That's a good message, Casey.
And it's really dangerous, and I think Casey, that's my caution.
Casey, we're out of time, I'm afraid. I'm so grateful for your insights today, and I wish you the very best as you try and convince parliamentarians this week of how important it is to not fall into the trap of thinking this is just benign and goodwill. All the best.